And we're live with the Wellness Woman Show with Lynnis Woods-Mullins here on New York Television.
Hi, and welcome to the Wellness Woman Show. It's wonderful to have you here today. I am so excited about all the different ways that we can be well in our mind, body, and spirit. And there's some ways that we actually have access to every single day. And the only reason why we are not aware of it is that we're just not leveraging them. We're just not using them in a way that can be really helpful. Today, we're going to be talking about something in particular that we all do, almost every night, and how it could possibly help you, how it could possibly save your life. We're going to be talking about dreams, and we have with us the author of this book, the authors of this book, Dreams That Can Save Your Life. It just launched today on Amazon. It is already the #1 new release on Amazon already, so you have to get this book. It is Dreams That Can Save Your Life, Early Warning Signs of Cancer and Other Diseases, and it was written by Dr. Larry Burk and Dr. Kathleen, Dr. Kathleen and Kat Kanavos. They are the authors of this book, and we'll be talking about what this book is about and why it is so important. Welcome to the Wellness Woman Show. It's wonderful to have you here today.
Thank you, Lynnis.
Thank you. And I must make sure that I tell all of our listeners that Dr. Larry Burk did his medical school and residency training at the University of Pittsburgh. He's the co-founder of Duke Integrative Medicine in Durham, North Carolina, and he is now a consulting associate in radiology at Duke Hospital. He is the co-founder of the American Board of Scientific Medical Intuition, and he is a member of the International Association for the Study of Dreams. Kathleen O'Keefe Kanavos has spent years studying and teaching about dreams, a 3-time breast cancer survivor whose premonitory dreams diagnosed her cancer, and she credits her survival to conventional treatment combined with dreams as a diagnostic tool. And she lives in Palm Beach, Florida. They're both here today. Thank you so much. I wanted to make sure they knew who you were before we got started. So first of all, tell me a little bit, Kathleen, about how you came to co-author this book, Dreams That Can Save Your Life.
Well, Dr. Larry Burk and I had met through Kelly Sullivan Walden years ago when I was doing an event somewhere, who knows where, because I was doing so many events. Mm-hmm. And she said, you've got to talk to this doctor, Dr. Larry Burk, because he's done some research on women who had breast cancer, but their dreams diagnosed the breast cancer before the medical community. And so I said, okay, give me his phone number and I'll call him. So I called Larry and I left a message and he called me back and we started chatting back and forth. Mm-hmm. And he told me about the research that he was doing, and I'll let him tell that because he's so much better at it than I am. But he was getting ready to do research, and I became one of the participants in that research. And I was one of the few participants who had had breast cancer 3 times, had dreams that diagnosed it all 3 times, and was still alive.
Wow.
So he did the research, and I said when he was all finished, so Larry, what are you going to do with all this tons and tons of information? And he said, well, I don't know. He wrote a few papers for journals and everything, and they were published, which was marvelous. I said, why don't we do a book? And he said, well, I don't have the time to write a book and then try to get it published. I don't even have an agent. And, so I don't think I want to do that. And I said, well, I've got the agent. What if I write a proposed book proposal? We send that out. And if somebody wants the book, then we'll write it. And he said, well, okay, if you can do that. So long story short, 2 weeks after we sent the proposed book proposal out, we were in a bidding war. Then we signed a contract, and we had to have this written book, this book right here, completely written and turned in like 5 months later.
Wow, off to the races.
Off. And then 4 months after that, it's published. So
wow. Well, congratulations, and I am not surprised. I've known Kathleen for a few years now, and one thing I can say about you, Kathleen, is once you make up your mind about you're going to do something, you are just like on it. And that's one of the reasons why this book is #1, because of all your efforts in promoting it, but also because it is so relatable. Many, many people have dreams and they want to know what they mean. And if they could lead them to whatever it is that they're wondering about. But the thing that's most important about this book is that you talk about dreams that people have had that have literally saved their lives. Dr. Burk, tell us a little bit about your research and how that all comes full circle in terms of writing this book.
Well, I'm thinking that Cat Monks must have been orchestrating the whole thing. So. And because they arranged for three of my friends to have breast cancer dreams and then share them with me, and pretty much caught me off guard. I wasn't really planning on being a dream researcher. I was mainly focused on doing the emotional freedom technique, the tapping technique. But now I get to combine both the dreams and the tapping, which makes it even more fun. So when three of my friends had breast cancer dreams, that got my attention, and then I found Wanda Birch's book on She Who Dreams, and then I found Kat's book, Surviving Cancerland. And then there was a nurse, holistic nurse named Carolyn Kinney, who wrote a book about transcending breast cancer. And that was way back in the 90s. So she was way ahead of her time. And she's probably one of the oldest people in the study now. And then just send out through social media, Dr. Christiane Northrup's Facebook page, Dr. Lissa Rankin's Facebook page. Larry Dossey was helpful, and then the International Association for the Study of Dreams, and dreamscloud.com, which is the social media site for dream sharing. They all helped us recruit subjects for the study, and it was some pretty amazing people. It's been a thrill to actually get to know them now by writing the book. Before, they were just 18 women with a bunch of statistics and numbers after their names, but now at least half of them are in the book, and makes it. And we have a really interesting, tight group of people who have our own little private Facebook group, and they get to know each other. So we hope to have
wonderful.
A real reunion in the flesh one of these days.
That would be wonderful. It's interesting how you can get to know people fairly well just through Skype and social media and all that. You feel like you've met them, but you really haven't actually met them face to face. What were some of the things you learned from the study?
The key things that the women all shared were that there were like 5 common characteristics. One was the dreams were compelling, like the most important dream they ever had. They had to do something about it. That was most of the dreams were like that. Then another handful of dreams were the most vivid or the most real life dream they'd ever had in their life, or they felt a sense of physical contact with the breast. Either a guide was touching them or they were touching themselves, or they had the actual words cancer or breast tumor were used in the dream. And less commonly, we had a guide would come, and a white-coated doctor or someone like that, or a relative would come and deliver the important information. And there's also a sense of dread in the dreams too.
Yes.
Menace.
And how did the women tell you that they use these dreams? How did they go and tell their doctor about it, or how did that all work?
Yeah, about half of them told their doctors, and most of them got a pretty reasonable response from their doctors. The one woman whose doctor just dismissed the dream was the woman who died, and so only one woman who died out of the study, and her dream was the one that was blown off. So.
Wow, that's pretty scary. Kathleen, I know that you have actual practical experience in the whole dream realm in terms of what happened in your life. Share with our viewers what happened to you when it comes to your whole dream experience.
Well, I started having dreams that I had breast cancer. And in these dreams, I would, if you're looking at your computer, it would almost be like a pop-up happened on the computer. And then that pop-up window would turn into a door. And I called it the door to the other dimension. It was the room between realms. It wasn't a room of the dead, but it also wasn't the room of the living, and you could only get there by way of dreams. And in that room, my spirit guides, known as Franciscan monks. They were monks. You know, I'm not Catholic. I have no idea why I had these monks, but they're pretty stern, and they would say, you have breast cancer, you go back to your doctor without an appointment tomorrow, and you tell them you need exploratory surgery. And this was like after 3 months, Lynnis, of having mammograms, physical exams, blood tests, and having my doctor tell me I'm healthy and to go home. So finally, with the third time I had, in the 3rd month when I had this dream, when the monk showed up in my dream and told me to go back the next day without an appointment, I started crying in the dream. And I said, my doctors aren't listening to me now. Why would they listen to me tomorrow? If I really do have breast cancer because they're telling me I'm too young to have it, then you help me. Do something to help me. And so my monk reached into his sleeve and he took out this tiny feather and he handed it to me and he said, if you use this feather like a sword tomorrow to cut through your doctor's arguments, you'll get the test you need, which is exploratory surgery to find the cancer. And long story short, because it's all in the book, you can read it, I was in stage 2, aggressive breast cancer with it in a lymph node.
Wow, that's just amazing. And I think the thing that's so mind-boggling is that had you not done that and had they not listened, you could have easily have become a statistic.
I could have been the second girl.
Right. I wouldn't be talking to you right now. So thank goodness for that. One of the things I think is so interesting about Dr. Burk is that you are a traditionally trained MD, but it sounds like somewhere along the line you made some shifts. Was it a shift in your belief system, or was it just an overall awareness, or have you always been evolved in the idea of that there's other things going on besides just traditional medical medicine when it comes to getting people well?
True confession, I watched Shirley MacLaine's Out on a Limb TV series.
I love Shirley. I get it. Okay.
That was stuff I'd never heard of before, you know, going out of the body, all kinds. There was all kinds of stuff in that. Everything was in that. I watched it again recently with my wife, who'd never seen it before. And it was pretty amazing. All the stuff, channeling, everything. Is in there.
Everything is in there. Yeah. Well, that definitely will open up your eyes to awareness, but still and yet you had to have had the propensity to want to know more, because so many doctors used to be, I think it's changing slowly now, but just think of this kind of stuff as woo-woo. Doesn't make any sense.
Well, and what happened also was in the movie, she walks into the Bodhi Tree bookstore in Los Angeles, and books started jumping off the shelf at her. I had this shortly after the movie. I had the same thing happen to me in the Garden of Letters bookstore in Philadelphia. I wound up buying one metaphysical book a week for about 2 years and reading them all. And then my dad got cancer. I started keeping a dream diary. I started studying hypnosis. Lots of different things came together all at once.
Yes, isn't that amazing? Now, that's interesting about journaling and all of that. Now, how does that, I understand that from the other interview that we did, you talked about journaling and your process. What is your process when it comes to dream journaling?
Yeah, I mean, the most important thing is get your little, I usually buy like a CVS, a drugstore, a little English composition book, you know, for $3 or something. And some people really buy exotic books that they want to make their dream journal really special. But after you've been doing this for 30 years, I mean, I got piles and piles and piles of journals.
I bet.
And then I always write a question down every night before I go to sleep, you know, that I want to answer, to setting the intention that I'm expecting the dream world to connect with me. So do the, you know, the question. And then I have a little red LED battery alarm clock that I keep near my bed so I can shine it on the page when I wake up with the dream, so I don't have to turn the light on. And as long as you have a red light, that doesn't bother your pineal gland, so that's good. So, and then hope you can figure out what you read in the morning when you get up. And then the other thing is give your dream a title, which is important in the whole. Because it almost helps catalog your dreams. You can refer back to that title and say, oh yeah, that I remember the title and now I remember the rest of the dream.
I like that idea of writing the question down before you go to bed. I didn't pick that up the last time around. That's something that can be very, very useful. Kathleen, in your practice with interpreting dreams, what are some of the key learnings that you've had that you share with others in terms of helping them understand their dreams?
I think one of the most important things is to, if you need to, use a dream dictionary, but even more important than that is to learn your own dream language. Your body, your inner self, your spirit guides are going to speak to you with signs and symbols that are important to you. For instance, if you have a dream about snakes, okay, somebody may love snakes. I love snakes. So when I see a snake in my dream, I think of the Kundalini. And I know that it's going to be a special dream. I need to really pay attention because I'm going to get some wisdom that I need in the near future from that dream. Somebody else may have a dream of a rattlesnake on a table when they're going into a meeting. That doesn't mean they're going to get knowledge necessarily at that meeting, or that knowledge may be aware, be careful, danger, don't approach. And so by learning your own dream language, you can get those little nuggets of gold that is in your dream. You're mining your dream. You're minding it and you're mining it. And that's how you get those little nuggets of gold out of your dreams that are important for your health, your wealth. You can even get it financially. Lynnis,
Yes.
you and I have talked about this before.
Yes.
Where a lot of people just before the crash had dreams. Get your money out. Get your money out. And they pulled all of their money out of the stock market. And boom, the stock market crashed. Those who didn't listen to their dreams went from multimillionaires to
Paupers.
regular paupers. And those people who pulled their money out, once it stabilized, put it back in. So yeah, it's not just your health, it's your wellness. And you know that when you are stressed about finances, it affects your health.
Oh, absolutely. I specialize in stress, and stress is probably one of the key proponents that can lead to chronic disease, obesity, high blood pressure, heart disease, stroke, so many things that people just take for granted. In fact, some people, we've got this whole movement these days going on that if you feel a little stressed, that's good. And the reality is that, I don't think any kind of stress is good. There's ways to get things accomplished without being totally stressed out and hair on fire out of your mind all the time. Don't have to be like that.
No.
But, I wanted to ask about this book in particular, because when we did the first interview on the wellness journey, I didn't actually get a chance to hold it and look at it. So I was reading it the other day, and I said, I need to ask you so you can tell everybody, how is this book comprised? How is it made up? What can people expect to find when they buy the book?
Do you want to touch that, Larry, or do you want me to go for it?
Well, there are, 42 stories that are organized into different sections. And first starts focused on the Breast Cancer Dream Project. And then we get into the actual stories of the dreamers themselves. And then we move into other types of cancer. And we get into healing dreams and dreams of other types of illnesses. And finally, pediatric dreams. And then words of wisdom from the dreamers at the very end.
Yes.
So that can probably give us some of those highlights there.
And for people who read the book, and this is for both of you, what is it that you really want them to glean from the book? What is it you want to be their big takeaway from the book?
I think we kind of want them to realize that this book is not just based on people's random dreams, that we were very selective in choosing these dreams. And what makes this book different from all the others are these dreams were all validated by pathology reports. And we don't have really any other books like that out there. They're people's dreams, but there's no real validation. All of the people in this book had dreams and then went to their doctors. We didn't have people who went to their doctors and then had healing dreams, although some of them had those later. The main thing of the book is they had the dreams, went to their doctors who told them, no, there's nothing wrong with them. They became e-patients. They went home. They looked up their symptoms or their dreams on the internet. They went back to their doctors armed with information and said, we're not taking no for an answer. We want additional testing. And that's when the disease was found. And that's really what makes this book different from all the other books that are out there. It's validated.
Yes, yes. And you know, it's interesting because we've talked about this before too, the importance of self-advocacy. Instead of just going into the doctor's office and just lying there and saying, okay, check me out, and then tell me what's wrong and what you're going to do. You want to go in there equipped with questions, and you want to advocate for yourself. If you're getting that feeling, that intuition, because I feel that dreams are kind of like that first step into your intuition. And if you're getting that intuition, that something's not right. If what the doctor is saying to you isn't resonating with you, don't push that back in your emotional closet. Explore that and take a look at that, because that really is your intuition trying to tell you to do more than what the doctor's already told you to do. And Dr. Burk, what about you? What do you want people to take away from this book?
I was just thinking that what you just said is true, but even more important of a message for men. We're talking about breast cancer dreams, but for men, their intuition often may be shut down during the day because they're living in a left brain world. And the only time their intuition may come out to play is when their left brain goes to sleep, when they go to bed. And then their right brain may start producing stuff that's been suppressed all day long, so now it's going to come out and share things. So even though there's a lot of, but we kind of did the breast cancer research first because that was the easiest to do. But we do have stories about men with prostate cancer, testicular cancer, lung cancer, and skin cancer in the book. And so they, had some pretty breakthrough intuitive moments that I'd encourage men to keep a dream diary too. And yeah.
That's, you know what, that's great. I'm glad you mentioned that, because even though this is the Wellness Woman show, most of the women have significant others in their life who are men. They've got fathers, brothers, whatever. And a lot of times with the mind, body, spirit movement and the whole wellness movement, somewhere along the line, we kind of forget about the men, because you're right, they're the left brainers. And, this is, as I said, some people think this is all woo-woo. But the reality is that this book is definitely a great precursor for a great conversation with men in terms of their dreams, the things that they need to be looking out for.
I had a fascinating conversation with a friend of mine who's a social worker here, and we got together most recently at the Jung Society meeting here in Research Triangle, and her husband was there, and he was really obsessed with the dream interpretation and sharing. He got up and shared one of his dreams in front of the whole group, and it was really amazing and cathartic. And I ran to her in a grocery store this weekend, and we were talking about it, and I was sharing with her what I just told you about the men and the left brain and going to sleep.
Right.
And she said, "Oh yeah, I always feel," and she says, "I always feel like an inadequate dreamer compared to my husband, because I'm very intuitive all day long in what I do, and my dreams are just okay. They're not amazing." And my husband's like real linear all day long, and he has these wild dreams, and she's always feeling like somehow like she's an inadequate dreamer. I said, well, you don't even need the intuitive dreams at night because you're being intuitive all day long. So it's interesting balancing.
Yes, it is. It is. It really is interesting. And, I'm so glad that you mentioned that about men, because they need help too. You guys don't.
Well, the whole family does, really. I'm looking at it. When you mentioned what was my goal is to have people share their dreams at the breakfast table in the morning, so you get, kids sharing mom and dad, and it becomes a family thing. That's a tradition of indigenous peoples all around the world, and it's a shame that we've lost that in the last 100 years.
I think that's a wonderful idea. The whole idea of telling the story, telling your story. You're telling your story through dreams. That's so important, and it's been great and wonderful and very important to have you here, because I truly do believe that people who will get this book, this is going to save some lives. Kathleen and Dr. Burk, this is going to save some lives. So again, it's Dreams That Can Save Your Life, Early Warning Signs of Cancer and Other Diseases, available right now on Amazon, and of course it's distributed at all other major bookstores as well.
Yes, everywhere.
Okay, fantastic. Thanks so much for being with us on the Wellness Journey. I'm sorry, on the Wellness Woman Show. It's late. On the Wellness Woman Show. That's my other show that you're on. Thank you so much, Kathleen and Dr. Burk. It's been wonderful to have you. And thank you so much for sharing such wonderful stories. And thank you for this book.
Thank you. Thank you, Lynnis.
Thank you. And thank you to all of you listeners. We'll see you again next time. Bye-bye. You're welcome.